The sauna door hissed shut, sealing us in a cocoon of heat and silence. My heart pounded louder than the steam curling around us, and I couldn't tell if it was the temperature or her presence that made my skin burn. I was 22, sitting inches from my best friend's mom, and I just asked her something no one should ever ask. My name is Riley Carter, a college senior back in Portland, Oregon, for the summer of 2025. I'd known Evelyn Harper, Lila's mom, since I was 15, when Lila and I bonded over late-night horror movies and sneaking her mom's wine. Evelyn was the kind of woman who commanded a room without trying, late 40s, with sharp green eyes, a warm laugh, and a quiet strength that made you feel safe and seen. She was a single mom, a literature professor at Reed College, and the person I'd secretly idolized for years. Not just idolize, felt something for. Something I couldn't name until it clawed its way out in that sauna. It started innocently enough. Lila and I were home for the summer, crashing at her mom's cozy craftsman house in Laurelhurst. The sauna was a new addition, a cedar-scented haven Evelyn had installed in the backyard to de-stress from her demanding job. That night, Lila was out with her boyfriend, leaving me and Evelyn alone. We'd been talking over wine, too much wine, about books, life, and the messy edges of love. I don't know what possessed me. Maybe it was the Merlot. Maybe it was the way her eyes softened when she looked at me. But I blurted it out. Evelyn, would you ever kiss a woman? The air thickened. Her smile faltered, then returned, cautious. Riley, she said, her voice low. That's a bold question. She didn't answer. Not directly. Instead, she suggested we try the sauna, as if heat could burn away the tension. I followed her, my pulse racing, knowing I'd crossed a line but desperate to see where it led. Inside, the heat wrapped around us like a confession. Evelyn sat across from me, her linen robe loose, her hair damp against her neck. I couldn't stop staring. Why did you ask me that, Riley? She said, her voice barely above a whisper. I swallowed, my mouth dry despite the steam. Because I've wondered about you, I admitted. About Her eyes widened, but she didn't move. I thought she'd laugh it off, or worse, shut me down. Instead, she leaned closer, her gaze searching mine. You're Lila's best friend, she said, almost to herself. This is dangerous. But her hand brushed mine on the bench, and neither of us pulled away. That touch was a spark. It lit something I'd buried for years, feelings I'd dismissed as a teenage crush, now roaring to life. I wasn't just some kid with a fleeting obsession. I was a woman who knew what she wanted, even if it was forbidden. Evelyn was 47, a mother, my friend's mother. And yet, in that moment, she was just a woman too, one who looked at me like she saw the same fire. We didn't kiss that night. We didn't need to. The air between us was electric, charged with possibility and peril. But as we left the sauna, her fingers lingered on my wrist, and she whispered, "We need to talk about this, Riley." Not here. Not now. I nodded, my heart in my throat, knowing we just opened a door we couldn't close. The next morning, Lila was back, oblivious, chattering about her date. I sat at the breakfast table, stealing glances at Evelyn as she poured coffee. Her eyes met mine, brief but heavy, and I knew we were both thinking the same thing. What now? The weight of it pressed on Megwilt. Desire. Fear of ruining everything. Lila was my best friend, the sister I never had. If she found out, it could shatter her. But the pull toward Evelyn was stronger than reason, stronger than anything I'd ever felt. Over the next week, we danced around it. Evelyn and I found excuses to be alone grabbing groceries, fixing the garden, lingering over dishes. Each moment was a tightrope walk, every glance a risk. One evening, while Lila was at work, Evelyn invited me to her study to discuss a book. The door clicked shut, and we stood there, inches apart, the air thick with unspoken words. "Riley," she said, her voice trembling. "This can't happen." "You know why." But her eyes betrayed her, full of longing and conflict. I stepped closer, reckless. "I don't care why," I said. "I care about you." Her breath hitched, and for a moment, I thought she'd kiss me. Instead, she turned away, gripping the edge of her desk. "You're so young," she whispered. "And I'm terrified." I wanted to argue, to tell her age didn't matter, that fear didn't matter. But the truth was, I was terrified too. Not just of Lila finding out, but of what this meant for me. I'd never been with a woman, never admitted to anyone, not even Lila, that I might be queer. Yet here I was, falling for someone who was everything I shouldn't want. That night, I lay awake, replaying every word, every look. The summer stretched ahead, endless and suffocating. I didn't know if Evelyn would push me away or pull me closer. But one thing was clear: we were on a collision course, and there was no turning back. The days after that night in Evelyn's study felt like holding my breath underwater. Every interaction with her was charged, like static before a storm. I'd catch her watching me as I laughed with Lila, her expression unreadable, and my chest would tighten with a mix of hope and dread. Portland's summer heat mirrored the tension between us. Lila, blissfully unaware, dragged me to coffee shops and thrift stores. But my mind was elsewhere. Evelyn and I hadn't spoken about us again, but the silence was louder than words. It was in the way she handed me a glass of iced tea, her fingers grazing mine, or how she'd pause in the doorway, like she was deciding whether to stay or flee. One afternoon, Lila got called into her part-time job at the bookstore, leaving me and Evelyn alone again. I was in the backyard, watering the roses, when she appeared, holding 2 lemonades. "Hot out here," she said, her voice casual but her eyes intense. I took the glass, our hands brushing, and I swear the air crackled. "Thanks," I mumbled, my throat tight. She didn't move, just stood there, the sun catching the silver streaks in her hair. "Riley," she said finally, "we can't keep pretending this isn't happening." My heart lurched. I set the hose down, water pooling at my feet. "Then let's stop pretending," I said, bolder than I felt. She exhaled, a shaky sound, and stepped closer. "You don't understand what this could cost," she said. "Lila, my job, everything." But her hand found mine, and she didn't let go. We sat on the porch steps, hidden from the street by overgrown ferns. She told me about her life, how she'd married young, had Lila at 25, and divorced when Lila was 10. She dated men since, but none lasted. "I've never let myself think about women," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "Until you." The words hit me like a tidal wave. I wanted to kiss her, to erase the fear in her eyes, but I just squeezed her hand. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. That moment felt like a promise, but it was fragile. Lila came home an hour later, and we sprang apart like guilty teenagers. Over dinner, I watched Evelyn play the perfect mom, laughing at Lila's stories, but her eyes kept finding mine. I felt like a traitor, sitting there with my best friend, hiding this secret that could break her. The next day, I couldn't take it anymore. I texted Evelyn, Meet me at the park tonight. Please. She didn't reply. But at 8 p.m., I was on a bench by the Willamette River, the city lights shimmering on the water. She showed up, her face pale in the dusk. This is a mistake, she said. But she sat down anyway. I took a deep breath. I'm falling for you, Evelyn. And I think you feel it too. She didn't deny it. Instead, she looked at me, her eyes raw. I do, she whispered. God help me. I do. We talked for hours, the night wrapping around us. She told me about her fears of losing Lila, of being judged, of being too old for me. I told her about my never having loved like this, never having come out. I don't even know what I am, I admitted. All I know is you. She touched my face, her thumb tracing my cheek, and I leaned into it, my heart racing. We didn't kiss, but we crossed another line. She agreed to see me again, alone, to figure out what this was. Felt like a victory, but it came with a shadow. Lila was my best friend, and every step toward Evelyn felt like a step away from her. I went home that night, my mind spinning. Could I have both? Could I love Evelyn without losing Lila? The next morning, Lila noticed something was off. You okay, Ree? She asked over breakfast. I forced a smile, my stomach twisting. Just tired, I lied. Evelyn was at the sink, her back to us, but I saw her shoulders tense. The guilt was a weight I couldn't shake, but the thought of giving up Evelyn was worse. By the end of the week, Evelyn and I had stolen more moments, quiet talks in her car, a brush of hands in the kitchen. Each one was a risk, thrill, a step deeper into something we couldn't control. I knew we were playing with fire, but I didn't care. All I wanted was her. The summer was slipping away, and with it, my ability to pretend everything was normal. Evelyn and I were a secret now, a fragile thing built on stolen glances and whispered promises. Every time Lila laughed with me, oblivious, the guilt grew heavier, but so did my need for Evelyn. One evening, we found ourselves alone again. Lila was at a concert, and Evelyn suggested we watch a movie. We settled on the couch, a safe distance apart, but the air was thick with tension. Halfway through, her hand found mine, and I forgot how to breathe. Riley, she said, her voice low, this is killing me. I turned to her, our faces inches apart. Then stop fighting it, I whispered. And then, finally, she kissed me. It was soft at first, hesitant, like she was testing the water. Then it deepened, urgent and desperate, like we'd both been starving. Her hands cupped my face, and I melted into her, the world fading away. When we pulled apart, her eyes were wide, her breath uneven. This is real, she said, almost in wonder. I nodded, unable to speak. It was real, and it was terrifying. After that, we couldn't stop. We stole moments whenever we cootled late-night talks in her car, a quick kiss in the laundry room. Each one was a high, but it came with a crash. Lila was starting to notice my distance. You're weird lately, she said one morning, tossing a pancake at me. Spill. I laughed it off, but my heart sank. Evelyn crossed the table, stared at her coffee, silent. The secrecy was eating at us. One night, in Evelyn's bedroom while Lila was out, we lay together, fully clothed but closer than ever. We have to tell her, I said, my voice shaking. Evelyn stiffened. It'll destroy her, she said. She'll hate us both. I wanted to argue, But I knew she was right. Lila was fiercely protective of her mom, and this would feel like a betrayal. Still, the idea of hiding forever was unbearable. We decided to wait, to find the right moment. But life doesn't wait. The next day, Lila caught us. We were in the kitchen, laughing over a spilled bowl of flour, when Evelyn brushed a streak of it off my cheek. Her touch lingered too long, and Lila walked in. The air froze. What the hell was that? She demanded, her eyes darting between us. Evelyn stepped back, pale. Lila. It's not, she started. But Lila cut her off. Don't lie to me, Mom. The fight that followed was brutal. Lila screamed, tears streaming down her face, accusing us of sneaking around behind her back. You're my best friend, Riley, she yelled. And you're my mom. Evelyn tried to explain, her voice breaking, but Lila stormed out, slamming the door. I stood there, numb, as Evelyn sank into a chair, her face in her hands. I told you, she whispered. I told you this would happen. I wanted to comfort her, but I was drowning in guilt. I'd betrayed my best friend, and now I'd lost her. I left the house, wandering the streets of Portland, my mind a mess. I ended up at the river again, staring at the water, wondering if I'd ruined everything. My phone buzzed. Lila, texting me a single word, why? I didn't know how to answer. That night, I went back to my parents' house, unable to face Evelyn or Lila. I lay awake, replaying the fight, the kiss, the years of friendship I'd thrown away. But even through the pain, I couldn't regret Evelyn. She was the first person who'd made me feel whole, who'd seen me for who I was. I just didn't know if that was enough. The next morning, Evelyn called me. We need to talk, she said, her voice raw. I met her at a coffee shop, away from the house. She looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying. Lila's staying with her dad, she said. She won't talk to me. I reached for her hand, but she pulled back. Riley, we can't do this. Not now. My heart sank, but I nodded. She was right. We'd hurt Lila, and we had to fix it before we could even think about us. The week without Lila felt like a lifetime. I texted her daily, apologizing, begging to talk, but she didn't respond. Evelyn and I kept our distance, both of us raw from guilt and heartbreak. Portland's gray skies mirrored my mood, the rain a constant reminder of the mess we'd made. I threw myself into distractions classes starting back at college, late-night study sessions, anything to avoid thinking about Evelyn's lips or Lila's tears. But every quiet moment brought them back. I'd fallen in love with a woman I couldn't have, and I'd lost my best friend in the process. The weight of it was crushing. One evening, I found myself at the sauna again, alone. Evelyn had given me a key to the house, and I let myself in, drawn to the place where it all began. The heat enveloped me, and I closed my eyes, remembering her touch, her voice. I didn't hear the door open until Lila's voice cut through the steam. Riley. My eyes snapped open. She stood there, her face a mix of anger and pain. Lila, I stammered, standing up. I'm so sorry. She shook her head, her eyes wet. You should have told me, she said. You both should have. I nodded, my throat tight. I know. I was scared. She sat down, the space between us heavy. I don't get it, she said. My mom. Really? I told her everything, how it started, how I'd fought my feelings, how I'd never meant to hurt her. She listened, her expression softening but still guarded. "I feel like I don't know you anymore," she said finally. Or her. I reached for her hand, and this time, she didn't pull away. "You're still my best friend," I said. "I'll do anything to fix this." She didn't answer, but she squeezed my hand before leaving. The next day, I went to Evelyn's house. She was in the garden, her hands in the dirt, her face tired but beautiful. "Lila came to see me," I said. She looked up, hopeful. And I told her about our talk, how Lila was hurt but maybe, just maybe, she'd forgive us. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve her," she said. "Or you." I knelt beside her, taking her hand. "You deserve to be happy," I said. "We both do." We started rebuilding. Slowly. Lila came back home, and we had awkward dinners, tiptoeing around the truth. Evelyn and I agreed to pause our relationship, to give Lila time. It was torture, being near her but not touching her. But I'd do anything to keep Lila in my life. Still, every look we shared was a reminder of what we'd put on hold. One night, Lila asked me to go for a walk. We ended up at the park, sitting on the same bench where Evelyn and I had confessed our feelings. "I've been thinking," Lila said. "I don't understand it, but I see how you look at her, and how she looks at you." I held my breath, waiting. "I'm not okay with it yet," she said. "But I don't want to lose you." Or her. It wasn't forgiveness. Not fully. But it was a start. Evelyn and I began to talk again. Carefully. We met in neutral places, coffee shops, bookstores, trying to figure out what we were without hurting Lila more. Each conversation was a lifeline, pulling me back to her. She told me about her own struggles, how she'd never explored this part of herself, how I'd awakened something she didn't know existed. "You make me feel alive," she said one day, her voice soft. "But I'm still scared." I was too. Not just of losing Lila, but of what it meant to love Evelyn. I was still figuring out who I was, still afraid to call myself queer in public. But with her, I felt brave. I felt like I could be anything. By the end of the month, Lila was talking to us both again, though it was strained. We were honest with her, promising no more secrets. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And in the quiet moments, when Evelyn and I stole a glance or a touch, I knew we'd find a way. Fall crept into Portland, the leaves turning gold and the air crisp. Lila was warming to us, slowly, but the distance between Evelyn and me felt like a wound that wouldn't heal. We'd agreed to keep things platonic for Lila's sake. But every time I saw Evelyn, my resolve crumbled. One evening, Lila invited me over for dinner. Peace offering. Evelyn cooked, her movements graceful as she stirred sauce, and I couldn't take my eyes off her. Lila noticed, rolling her eyes but smiling. "You two are ridiculous," she said, and for the first time, it didn't sound like an accusation. Over dinner, we laughed, the tension easing, and I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could be a family, in our own messy way. After Lila went to bed, Evelyn and I cleaned up, our movements synchronized. In the quiet kitchen, she turned to me, her eyes soft. "I miss you," she said, and my heart broke open. I stepped closer, our hands brushing over the sink. "I miss you too," I whispered. We didn't kiss, but we stood there, breathing the same air, and it was enough. The next week, I came out to my parents. It was terrifying, sitting in their living room, my hands shaking as I told them I was queer, that I loved a woman, My mom cried, not out of anger but confusion. And my dad hugged me, saying, "We just want you happy." It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. When I told Evelyn, she held me, her arms a safe harbor. "I'm proud of you," she said, and I felt like I could breathe again. Lila was trying, but it wasn't easy. One day, she pulled me aside. "I'm okay with you being you," she said. "But it's weird." "Okay." My mom. "Just give me time." I nodded, grateful for her honesty. We were rebuilding, piece by piece, and I clung to that. Evelyn and I started seeing each other again. Cautiously. We went on walks, held hands under the cover of darkness, stole kisses in her car. Each moment was precious, but the fear lingered. What if Lila changed her mind? What if the world judged us? Evelyn was a professor, respected in her field. A scandal could ruin her. I was just a kid, still figuring out my place. But together, we felt unstoppable. One night, we went to a queer poetry reading downtown, our first public outing. I was nervous, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. But Evelyn was calm, her hand steady in mine. "We're allowed to be here," she said, and I believed her. The poems were raw, full of love and pain, and I saw myself in them. Afterward, we kissed in the alley behind the venue, the city alive around us. "I love you," I said, the words spilling out. She froze, then smiled, tears in her eyes. "I love you too, Riley." That declaration changed everything. We weren't just a secret anymore. We were real, undeniable. But reality came with consequences. The next day, Lila texted me, "Saw you at the reading. You didn't tell me you were going." My stomach dropped. I wanted to protect her, but I'd hurt her again by hiding. I called her, apologizing, promising to be open. She was quiet for a long time. "I'm trying, she said. "But it's hard." Evelyn and I talked about moving forward. We wanted to be together, but we needed Lila's blessing. We invited her to coffee, the three of us sitting in a cramped booth, the air heavy. "I want you both to be happy," Lila said finally, her voice small. "But I need boundaries. No sneaking around. No lies." We agreed, relief washing over us. It wasn't full acceptance, but it was enough for now. By October, we were finding a rhythm. Evelyn and I were together, openly, though we kept it low-key. Lila was warming up, even joking about my cradle-robbing girlfriend. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And in the quiet moments, when Evelyn held me, I knew I'd fight for this, for us, no matter what. Winter settled over Portland, blanketing the city in mist and quiet. Evelyn and I were navigating our new normal, a delicate balance of love and caution. Lila was coming around, but her acceptance was fragile, like ice that could crack under pressure. We were careful, keeping our affection private, but every touch, every smile, felt like a victory. One evening, Evelyn invited me to a faculty event at Reed College, her first time bringing me as her partner. I was nervous, my palms sweaty as we walked into the crowded room. She introduced me as Riley, my girlfriend, and the word hit me like a spark. People were polite, but I saw the raised eyebrows, the whispers. Evelyn held my hand, unflinching, and I felt her strength anchor me. Later, in her car, she laughed, a little shaky. That was terrifying, she admitted. Kissed her, grateful for her courage. Lila was trying harder now. She invited us to a movie night. A tentative olive branch. We watched a cheesy rom-com. And when Evelyn and I instinctively reached for each other, Lila didn't flinch. Afterward, she hugged me, whispering, "I'm getting there." It was small, but it meant everything. But the world wasn't as kind. A colleague of Evelyn's, a nosy professor, started asking questions. Rumors spread about her, about us. One day, she came home pale, her hands shaking. "They're talking about me at work," she said. "They think I'm inappropriate." My stomach twisted. I'd never considered how this could hurt her career. "We'll fight it," I said. But she shook her head. "I can't lose my job, Riley. Not for this." The fear in her voice scared me. For the first time, I wondered if love was enough. We argued that night. Our first real fight. I wanted to go public, to prove we had nothing to hide. But she was cautious, protective of her life, of Lila. "You're young," she said, her voice sharp. "You don't understand what's at stake." I left, angry, hurt, and spent the night at my parents', questioning everything. The next day, Lila called me. "Mom's a mess," she said. "She loves you, Ree. She's just scared." I went to Evelyn's house, finding her in the garden, her eyes red. "I'm sorry," she said before I could speak. "I don't want to lose you." I held her, the cold air biting our skin, and we promised to face this together. We started being more open, but strategic. Evelyn told her department head about us, framing it as a committed relationship, not a scandal. To our relief, most colleagues were supportive, though some kept their distance. Lila helped, too, talking to her mom's friends, normalizing us. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. By December, we were stronger. We spent Christmas with Lila, the three of us decorating a tree, laughing like we used to. Lila gave us matching mugs, a playful nod to our coupledom, and I saw Evelyn tear up. Later, as we lay in bed, Evelyn whispered, "I never thought I'd have this." I kissed her, my heart full. We were building something real, something worth fighting for. But life loves a curveball. In January, I got an offer for a study abroad program in London, a dream opportunity. It was only 6 months, but the thought of leaving Evelyn and Lila felt like tearing out a piece of myself. I told Evelyn, expecting her to ask me to stay. Instead, she smiled, her eyes sad but proud. "You have to go," she said. "This is your future." I cried, hating her selflessness, loving her for it. We spent the next month preparing, stealing every moment we could. Lila threw me a going-away party, and for the first time, she hugged Evelyn and me together, a silent blessing. As I boarded the plane, Evelyn's last words to me were, "Come back to me." I promised I would, my heart already aching for her. London was a whirlwind of cobblestone streets and new faces. But every night, I thought of Evelyn. We video-called daily, her face lighting up my screen, her voice grounding me across the ocean. Lila joined sometimes, her teasing a reminder of the family we'd built. But 6 months felt like forever, and doubt crept in. Would distance break us? I threw myself into my studies, exploring art history and queer culture, finding pieces of myself I hadn't known were missing. I came out publicly, joining a campus LGBTQ group, and it felt like shedding a weight. I told Evelyn, and her pride shone through the screen. "You're becoming you," she said, and I fell in love with her all over again. But distance wasn't easy. Evelyn's job was demanding, and time zones made us miss each other. One night, she sounded distant, admitting she worried I'd outgrow her. "You're 22, Riley," she said. "You have a whole life ahead." I hated her doubt, hated that she thought I could ever stop loving her. "You're my life," I told her, and I meant it. Lila was our bridge. She sent me updates, photos of Evelyn in the garden, stories of their mother-daughter nights. "She misses you," Lila texted. "Don't screw this up." I laughed, grateful for her support. She'd come so far, accepting us not just as individuals but as a couple. Gave me hope. In June, I flew back to Portland, my heart racing as the plane landed. Evelyn met me at the airport, her eyes bright with tears. We kissed, right there in the terminal, and it felt like coming home. Lila was there too, hugging me so tight I couldn't breathe. "You're stuck with us," she said, and I laughed, tears streaming down my face. Back at Evelyn's house, we fell into a new rhythm. I was different, stronger, surer of who I was, and Evelyn noticed. "You've grown," she said one night, her hands in mine. "So have you," I replied. She'd started a queer book club at Reed, a quiet act of defiance against the whispers. We were both finding our place in the world, together. The sauna became our sanctuary again. One night, as steam curled around us, I told her I wanted a futurious. Together. No more hiding. She looked at me, her eyes soft. "I want that too," she said. "But we go slow. For Lila. For us." I nodded, knowing slow was right. We'd fought too hard to rush now. Lila graduated that summer, and we threw her a party. She pulled me aside, her eyes serious. "I'm proud of you," she said. "And Mom. You make her happy." It was the closest she'd come to a full blessing, and it meant everything. We were a family, imperfect but real. By August, Evelyn and I were planning a trip together, just us, to the Oregon coast. As we walked along the beach, the waves crashing, I felt a peace I'd never known. We'd face guilt, fear, and judgment, but we'd come through. I was queer, out, and in love with a woman who'd changed my life. Evelyn was my partner, my home, and Lila was my sister, forever. Our story wasn't tidy. There were still whispers, still moments of doubt. But as I held Evelyn's hand, the ocean stretching before us, I knew we'd made it. Love wasn't just the spark in the sauna. It was the choice we made every day to fight, to forgive, to build something true. And in that truth, we found our freedom.